ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم everyone.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I am good.
Alhamdulillah. That sounds great. Okay, today, inshallah, let me put our nice PowerPoint. Okay, that's excellent. You can see the screen. Can you all see it?
Yes, we see.
Yes.
Okay, very nice. Okay, so let's start with our calligraphy of the week. So I'm going to just go ahead. Yes. Now, can you tell me if you are able to read or maybe identify the ayah of the Quran from this calligraphy? If you are able to, feel free to make an attempt, or maybe you can raise your hand first.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Sultan. How are you, brother?
I recognize, but I cannot read full. This is Rasulun Anfusakum. This is Rasul between you is very haris for you, and he's always thinking for you. The translation like that.
Excellent. That's you're really close. So you got it. So you got the right answer. Although you didn't give me the full ayah, but that's fine, inshallah. Anyone else want to give more? Otherwise, we can continue, inshallah. As you can see, Brother Sultan actually. Yes, it's sister. I hear a sister.
Yes. No, I see lakad ja'akum. Lakad ja'akum and
That's the beginning of the ayah. That's correct.
yes.
Okay. All right. So do you see in the middle something different, something else in the middle of the calligraphy?
Muhammad.
It is more clean.
I cannot hear very well. Can you repeat it?
I can see some of the words, but not complete ayah.
Okay. And then I heard one of the brothers, is it Aniq? Aniq? If I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
not Aniq. Yeah. So is it you who said Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Yeah, I can see the word Muhammad in the middle.
Exactly. So this is a beautiful superposition, because although the word or the name of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not mentioned in this ayah is referring to him, and it is kind of in the shadow his name there, Muhammad in the middle. If you follow my the pointer of my mouse, you can see the meme, the ha, and then another meme here, and then the dal, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So like you said, all of you, this is an ayah that starts لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ. It's the whole ayah is as follows. Let me show it to you. Sorry. So it's chapter 9 of the Quran, ayah 128. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. So the translation of this ayah talks about Prophet Muhammad, and it says, there certainly has come to you, community of Muslims, a messenger from among yourselves. He is concerned by your suffering, anxious for your well-being, and gracious and merciful to the believers. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So if you go back, we can actually look at the calligraphy part by part. It starts here. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ, the hamza here. جَاءَكُمْ, and then it goes up. رَسُولٌ من ألف أنفسكم, and then it goes to عزيز عليكم, عليه, عزيز عليه, I think, right? عزيز عليه, that's right. عزيز عليه ما عنتم and then it continues. حريص with the dots for the here. حريص عليكم عليكم. And then حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم, right? And the ba is here. You see the ba? بالمؤمنين. And then we go down. رؤوف رحيم. Subhanallah. It's actually beautiful, but it's very hard, even for native speakers. Okay, so today we are going to continue our second part of the rules of the letter Ra, right? And we said that ahkamul Ra, ahkam, hakam, hukm means rule. Okay, ahkam is rules, plural. So the rules of Ra, ahkamul Ra, and basically what we are going to derive from this Ra is that one of them is going to be pronounced with full mouth. We call it emphatic, or mufakhama, tafkhim. And the other type of Ra will be softer. We will call it muraqqaqa, with tarqiq, or with an empty mouth. Okay. So as a reminder from last week, because I think that's the reason why we divide this lesson in two parts. It's a bit complicated towards the end, meaning today. So I didn't want to give you everything last week. It would have been too much. So last week what we did is we said that Ra in the Quran, in Al-Quran Al-Kareem, can be either with vowels on it, or without a vowel on it, it has sukun. So in case it has vowels like a, u, e, we call this Ra mutaharrika with harakat, right? Alif, fatha, dhamma, kasra. Okay. And this Ra with harakat will have two different rules. And the Ra without harakat is called Ra sakina. Like in the past, we learned about Noon sakina, Mim sakina, right?
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Okay, so Ra sakina with sukun actually has more than two rules. It has 5 rules. It has 5 rules. And last week we only saw 2 of these 5 rules. Okay. Now, just to tell you about the rules we've seen last week, we only saw 4 rules, right, total. We saw the 2 first rules here. So that I'm just trying to make it slowly so it doesn't get confusing. Last week we started with these 2 rules, and then we covered 2 of the 5 rules. So just 2 out of 5. Okay. And here 2 out of 2. Okay. So if we go to the 2 rules of mutaharrika, can someone remind me what they were? Any sister, any brother? Here's the visual for you. Maybe it can help you. Yeah, Sister Farzana, go ahead.
2 rules. The first rule is with ya sakina. When there is ya before Ra, then we pronounce it with empty mouth.
Okay.
And the second rule is like first vowel before Ra sakina. If it is fatha or dhamma, then we pronounce it with full mouth.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I would say the second is correct, but the first is actually part of the Ra with sukun on top. Okay, for example, I'll explain to you. For example, we say khabir, right? The khabir Ra has a ya before it. Like that's actually ya with sukun or with a long e. In that case, the ra is actually with sukun, it's not mutaharrika. So the two rules are, if there is a kasra on the ra, under the ra, is actually going to be pronounced with an empty mouth. If there is a dhamma or fatha on it, it will be full mouth. That's for ra mutaharrika. And the other is what you said, with ra sakina, the ra with sukun on top of it. If there is a ya before it, then it will be with empty mouth. Like I said, khabir, khabir, ir. And if there is dhamma fatha before it, it will be full mouth. Okay, so they are kind of parallel rules. They're quite close, although not exactly the same. All right, now let's continue today. We're going to do the 3 remaining rules of ra. Okay, so if there is a kasra, imagine you have a ra with sukun, right? So we have a ra. I'm going to use my pen to make it easier, inshallah. Let's choose a color like this. All right, so we have this ra, and in our case now we are only talking about ra with sukun on top, right? So only the ra with sukun on top. Imagine for this ra there is a kasra before it, right? So before this ra we have a kasra. Now there's a word here, any letter, and there is a kasra. Okay, so in this case we have 3 situations, and because of these 3 situations we have 3 different rules. All right, so first situation, number 1, if this kasra is a permanent kasra, we call this al-kasra al-asila or asliya. If this is a permanent kasra, then we pronounce it with tarqiq or with empty mouth. For example, al-maqabir, fadhakkir, mudhakkir, musaytir, laqadir, as-sarair, firdaus. See, the kasra before the ra is actually allowing the ra to become muraqqaqa, meaning soft, or empty mouthed. And this kasra before the ra does not change, it's always there. That's why we call it permanent kasra. So regardless of whether you stop or you don't stop, the kasra will always be there. Okay? You got this rule, first one, right? You got this rule correct? Anyone needs to understand more or didn't get this rule? It's simple, I think, right?
Yes. Is it?
Yes, questions, go ahead. Question time. Let's answer questions. Yes?
Excuse me. So, permanent, can you explain a bit more about the permanent kasra?
Okay, good question. And this is going to be explained with the next rule. Because, you know, in Arabic, we have alif, right? Alif is the first letter of the alphabet. But alif, the top of the alif, can have either hamza or it can have what we call hamzat wasl. All right, let me show you. I will draw it for you so you can understand. So alif like this, right? You can have hamza, right? Right or wrong? Right or wrong?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And sometimes the alif, you can have something like this, right? If you open the book Quran, right? Right. In cases where you have something like this.
Sorry, brother, to interrupt.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I want to know, is it like we are doing revision, or is this the new rule you are introducing? I'm a bit confused.
No, this is new rule already. We have started with the new rules.
Oh, okay.
We have already done our review. Yeah. So,
okay.
yeah, no problem. So you see, this E, this is actually not a permanent E sound, or U, for example. And that's what we mean by the kasra in these words is permanent. I will explain to you. Once you go to the next rule, you will understand. Sister Nida, I think, asked the question, right? Is it? Sister?
Okay. Okay.
Is it you who asked the question?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so let me show you the next rule first, and you can
Okay.
understand what I mean by permanent and non-permanent. Okay. All right, so let's go. Now, if the kasra is actually temporary, the opposite, not permanent, we call it al-kasra al-arida. The ra will be read with tafkhim, full mouth. For example, irkab, irja, or irji'i, amir tab, amir tabu. This is a stronger ra, okay? I will tell you now what I mean by permanent and temporary. This has to do with hamzatul wasl. Hamzatul wasl. Okay. So hamzatul wasl, we have one which is actually written with hamza like this, and one with like a small sad. It looks like a sad, right? The right one is like a sad, and the left one is like the original hamza. So let me show you. For example, in the word Allah, you see it here, right? You see this? You see this, right?
Yes.
Everybody? Okay. Now, why do we say sometimes Alhamdulillah, or we say Allah, or Illah? Why does that change, this pronunciation? Because this Hamza is not a permanent Hamza, and it's always influenced by what comes before it, by the vowel coming before it. Okay, but this Hamza is permanent. Ustadh will not change regardless of the word that comes before it, right? So this word Ustadh will not change in pronunciation regardless of what comes before. You understand? The pronunciation of the U will stay the same all the time. Okay. Let me explain a bit more. I have more examples to show you. For example, how do we read this ayah from Surah Al-Fatiha? Let's read this ayah together. All right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I will read the whole Fatiha. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Okay, so if I read only these two ayat, إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. So what if I don't want to stop? What if I don't want to stop between ayah number 5 and ayah number 6? How do you read it? Can someone try? Any volunteers? Aniq, you try?
Said like إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا.
Very good, very good. Now, what happened? That's an example that was very beautifully read by Brother Amir. So what happened is that this Hamza here is not a permanent E. Okay? It's a temporary E. It is going to be affected by what comes before it. So we will say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ اهْدِنَا. Right? إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ اهْدِنَا. We don't say نَسْتَعِينُ اهْدِنَا. That would be wrong. That would be a wrong pronunciation. Okay. If we continue, we say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ اهْدِنَا. Okay. Why? Because we haven't stopped. So if we stop, the reading of this Hamzatul Wasl is different. right? How do we know? We have to look at the haraka in the third word. Okay, how do we know how to pronounce this hamzatul wasl? We have to look at this third vowel here, u. If I stop, I have to, if I start now, I have to read it depending on this hamza, this haraka. So if I start like this, I say uthkuru, uthkuru. I don't say ithkuru or athkuru. Okay. So this is very important. This is called waqf and wasl, stopping and continuing. We will talk about this probably in a separate lesson, inshallah. So let me show you the rule. The rule is the following. If you have in the third letter, the vowel is u, then hamzatul wasl will be read with dhamma, like in the example above. When you start, uthkuru, uthkuru, okay? However, if the third word has a vowel e or a, fatha or kasra, then how do we read the first hamza? Anyone wants to guess or to tell us the right answer?
Azkar.
With kasra. Yes, that's correct. E.
Oh.
With E. So in cases, this is for verbs, huh? This is for verbs. The rule is for verbs. If you have in the third letter of the word, the vowel is either E or A, then when you start the first hamza here, the hamzatul wasl will be read with kasra all the time. Okay, let me show you an example. So what is the third vowel here? It's a kasra, right? It's kasra, right? So if I start here, this hamza, there will be what? How do I read it? With kasra also, okay? Because the third vowel is a kasra, okay? So when I start here, this kasra is not permanent. Here's the answer to our question that we have been trying to answer earlier, right? This is what we call temporary kasra. As I showed you earlier with Brother Aniq reading, if I continue, this kasra becomes dhamma. Nista'inu hdina. But when I stop, sorry, my PowerPoint is actually having issues. I cannot go further. When I stop, then I have to make it a kasra because the third letter's vowel is a kasra. Okay. So as you can notice from the recitation here, I will show you, inshallah. All right, let me make it a bit bigger. Can you see it on your screens? Yeah, everybody can see it, right? So if I play it, you will hear how it's produced or pronounced.
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
Okay, so he says ihdina, ihdina. Okay, this is what we mean, sisters who have asked the question, by temporary kasra. Temporary kasra. It's not permanent kasra. It's not gonna always be the same. It will change according to whether you stop or you continue. All right, so here are other examples I want to show you, and I just want to remove these notes. Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, so how do I recite this? Anyone? Any volunteers? Any volunteers? Ariba? Ariba, you want to try? I heard Ariba, or maybe not. We can apply the rule, right? Remember the rule, it says look at the third letter of the word If it's fatha or kasra, then you start with the kasra. Aniq, again, go ahead.
اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق.
Very good. Very good, mashallah. So because we have a fatha here, then we are going to start it with a kasra. Let's listen to it. Very good, brother Aniq.
اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق.
So you can notice there is a qalqala here, right? اقرأ.
اقرأ باسم ربك الذي
And then
خلق.
خلق. Okay, you heard it, right? You could hear that, right? Everybody could hear it, right? Right? Everybody can hear what I'm playing, right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but can I ask, but why the first one should be kasra? Isn't it should be fatha?
No,
Should be
because
why not
no,
akro?
because the rule says, if you can remember here, if it's dhamma, if it's the third letter is dhamma, then you will recite the first letter is also going to be dhamma. But if it's fatha or kasra, then it's kasra. Okay? That is why we say iqra, not aqra.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, jazakallah.
I understand your idea. You thought that because it's fatha, the first should be fatha, right? Yeah. Okay, good thinking, sister. And then we have a third example. We look at this, the third letter, 1, 2, 3. We look at the vowel U. Then what should be the vowel? Everybody can answer. Everybody?
انظر.
Yes. انظر. انظر كيف ضربوا لك الأمثال فضلوا فلا يستطيعون سبيلا. انظر. All right, let's listen to it.
انظر كيف ضربوا لك الأمثال فضلوا فلا يستطيعون سبيلا.
Okay, so that all of this is to actually tell you why do we talk about temporary kasra versus permanent kasra. It has to do with what we call hamzatul wasl, this small hamza, which is a linking hamza. We call it wasl. Wasl means linking. Hamzatul wasl. Hamzatul fasl or qata is the splitting hamza with the S-looking shape on top of, like this one, al-amthal here. That's a different one. It's for cutting words. It's not for linking words together. All right, so we come back to this rule number 2 for today. It should be actually number 4, rule number 4, right? For the ra sakina. I will repeat it for you now so that you can understand it. If the kasra is temporary, al-kasra al-arida, the ra will be read with tafkhim, full mouth. So we say irkab. We don't say irikab. We make it strong in this case. Irji'i. Okay. Irji'i. We don't say irji'i. Amir tabu, not amir tabu. Okay, this one is emphatic. In this case, this kasra is influenced by the hamzat wasl. All right. And finally, the last rule for today, inshallah, of the ra sakina, the ra with sukun on top of it. And of course, my brothers and sisters, I know there's a lot of rules, I know that. But for you, the best thing to do is just to review all the slides and just to practice, and then go back to the rule and check if you made a mistake or not. Or if you can highlight, maybe from an electronic digital copy of the Quran, the ra and what should be the ra here, and it should be the ra here. All right. Now the third rule, number 3, here it's not complicated, don't worry. If there is any letter of what we call letters of isti'la, anyone heard the letters of isti'la? What are they? No, right? Okay. So there are actually 7 letters of isti'la, and this will tell you what it is, okay? So anytime you have a ra with with sukun followed by the 7 letters of isti'la, dha, kha, sad, da, gha, ta, qa, then even if it should supposedly muraqqaqa because there is kasra before it, it's always with a full mouth, with a strong emphatic quality. Mirsad, irsad, qirtas, 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 because that strong emphatic letter of isti'la is going to influence the quality of the ra. So it will make the ra strong, not emphatic, not empty mouth, but full mouthed. Okay. Now notice in these 3 examples, the 3 words underneath, all of them have a letter coming before it, right? And this letter coming before it has a kasra on it. So if we think, well, the rule before said to us that if there's a kasra that comes before the ra becomes muraqqaqa, or thin, or empty mouthed. However, because of the letter of isti'la that comes after, this rule is cancelled, and the ra now becomes stronger. It's not soft anymore. It becomes full-mouthed. All right. Let me tell you what are the letters of isti'la. Letters of isti'la. All right. So you see why I actually divided the lesson in 2, because there's a lot of things today. All right. The letters of isti'la, literally isti'la means elevation. One reason why we call them this way is because the tongue, when you pronounce these 7 letters, is kind of raised up towards the roof of the mouth. So, kha, sa, da, gha, ta, qa, dha. So the mouth, the tongue is not flat down. It's actually going up a bit. So it's going high. Therefore, these letters have quality of strength, and they are always, always by definition, emphatic. Okay, they're always full-mouthed. Always these letters have tafkhim. Therefore, if there's ra coming before them, it will influence the ra. Any of these 7 letters will influence the ra, and the ra will be pronounced with strength or tafkhim. Okay. Now the other types of letters are not called isti'la, it's called istifal, means lowering or dropping. Technically here the tongue is lowered from the roof of the mouth underneath, and you are not going to make them emphatic, but all the letters, meaning if we have 7 letters of isti'la, then it's 19, 20, 21 letters. The remaining 21 letters are istifal letters because there are 28 letters in the Arabic alphabet. So these letters, the remaining 27, are always empty mouthed. Okay, always, by definition, by nature, right? We're not talking about ra, because as we said here, ra, if it's coming before one of the letters of isti'la, it will become full mouthed. But by definition, ra is not an emphatic or full-mouthed letter. However, by nature, these 7 letters are full-mouthed. Okay, by nature, they will always be, regardless of the position, they will always be full-mouthed in the Quran when you recite the Quran. For example, we say, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قَ. We don't say قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. We don't make the qaf soft. It's impossible because by nature, this sound is emphatic. Okay. Same for Sad. There is a chapter of the Quran that starts Sad. Okay, you don't say said. It doesn't work because this sound, by definition or by nature or by the way it's pronounced, its DNA is emphatic. So it doesn't matter what comes before or after, it will always be emphatic. So these 7 letters, the letters of isti'la, will always be emphatic, and they will influence the ra if they come after it. All right, so summing up from last week, I don't know if this chart is helpful or not, but it's a synthesis of all the rules of Ra Sakina. But you know, let me tell you something here. I want to kind of pause a bit because I want to tell you something just to clarify. Although this sounds like a recipe or things to do, or you know, all kind of a list of different rules, when you recite the Quran unconsciously, if you become more familiar with the Arabic language, you will apply these without even feeling it. You don't really, your familiarity with the Quran by listening to the Quran and by reciting it day after day, you will not actually be bothered by remembering these rules. I will give you an analogy or a metaphor. When you're actually driving a car, in the beginning, you are influenced by what your instructor or your the person teaching you how to drive has told you, right? You need to put your hands this way, 10, um, uh, 10 past 10 or something like that. Then you look, you need to look, you need to just cross, looking that. So there's a lot of rules and you feel a bit tense when you're reading. I have to apply the rule and drive. But when you become a experienced driver, those rules, it's like second nature. You don't really think about applying them. It's the same for Tajweed. When you are in the beginning, you're saying, oh, there's so many rules for Ra. Am I able to apply all these rules when I recite? Well, you would think that you will not be able to, but in fact, you become familiar, for example, with the quality of Ra. You become familiar with what are letters of isti'la. You know that they are kind of strong categories of sounds, weaker sounds. And then you will apply it without feeling that you have to memorize the rules. Okay? So all of the rules for Ra are stated in this chart. We have on the left side, the Ra with vowels on them, A, U, I. We have just two rules, right? Either empty mouth or full mouth. Empty mouth is kasra underneath, and full mouth is dhamma or fatha. And then on the other side, the second part, we have the Ra without any vowels, with sukoon. Right? And then if we look at the right side of the screen, total right, it says ya sakina before it, it becomes empty mouth. For instance, we have ya with sukoon on top, khair, khair, then it becomes empty mouth, right? Then if there is dhamma or fatha before it, u-i, then it's full mouthed. And the third category, if there's a kasra coming before, it produces three different types of rules. Either it's a permanent kasra, in this case we have an empty mouth. If it's a temporary kasra with, you know, coming before it, what we call the hamzat wasl, it's full mouthed. And if this Ra is followed by any of the 7 letters of isti'la, it's always full mouthed, even if there's kasra coming before it. Alhamdulillah. We have to breathe because there's so many rules, but inshallah we are going to decipher them slowly with time. Okay, let's look at some practice. Let's look at some examples. How do we recite the following? With empty mouth or with full mouth? And you can explain why if you are able to, inshallah. Any volunteers?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Sorry, excuse me. Can I ask a question? Because
Of
before
course.
before answering the question, I need to know. For example, the raw rules. Some we need to look at the front before the raw. Maybe it is kasra or dhamma. Sometimes we need to look at behind the raw. So sometimes maybe we have both. So which rules we need to think about it? Think about the word before the raw, or think about the word after the raw. Yeah.
Look at before and after.
Both.
Yes. So for example, in this case, let's do the application of the rule, right? Let's apply it. So we look at the word on the right here. Let's do that. So I'm going to change my pen. We do it step by step. Don't worry, sister. So what we have? Do we have Ra here? Yes. We have Ra with sukoon. Okay. So we have 5 possible rules. And of course, at the end of the day, we only have 2 possible pronunciations. Either it's mufakhama or muraqa. Either it's empty mouth or full mouthed. Okay. So first of all, we look at what's before. Before the ra, there is kasra. Yeah, right? Now, if there is kasra, then the rule will tell us what to do. We need to make it either empty or full when kasra precedes the ra.
Empty mouth.
Empty mouth. Very good. So we'll say fir, right? However, is that all? We need to continue and see what's coming after. Yes.
Cough. Because of the cough, which are the 7 letters of istila.
Istila, good.
Istila. So we have to pronounce it with full mouth.
Very beautiful, mashallah. So you see, this is your full analysis. Here, qaf cancels the emptiness due to E. Firqa. So it is a full mouthed. Okay. Now let me give you another word which is very similar to this one. I will write it. I'm sorry if my handwriting is not good. Okay, let's do this. All right, do you read it? Did you read it, right?
Yes.
So let's apply the same rules. I'm going to change the color maybe to blue or something. Let's do green. Okay. So we isolate the ra and we are going to say, first things first. Let me see. There is a kasra before it, so I will probably need to make this ra empty mouthed. Fir, not fir. Now, I need to continue my analysis. What comes after ayn? Is it one of the 7 letters of isti'ala? Yes or no? No, it's not. So I will keep it empty mouthed. Fir'aun. However, this is firqa, not firqa. Okay, you see the difference? So because we are reading Arabic from right to left, so your analysis will start from right and go to the left. You start with the kasra before the ra, and you proceed, and you see if there's something after. But as I told you, this feels like it's a recipe, and it will take so much time while I'm reciting. However, we don't have to rush. And also, this with time, it becomes natural. With your listening, because you will listen to the Quran, you say, oh, he says Fir'aun, he does this Fir'aun. So I'm going to do it all the time, inshallah. I know now I'm going to do it all the time. All right, so you accumulate knowledge, inshallah, with the pronunciation of certain words, certain lexical items. You will become familiar with certain letters and sounds. Okay. Now, let's go to the second word. And we're going to use probably another color. Let's do the same analysis. In this case, we have ra with sukun again, like this one. And we have kasra before. So what do we say? We need to make it muraqqaqa, right?
Yes.
But what are the 7 letters of ista'la?
Swab is one of them.
Exactly. So here it becomes a stronger sound. It's not light. It's not empty mouth, it's full mouth. You say mirsad, not mirsad. Because it's impossible for me to pronounce ra with empty mouth and then follow immediately after a strong full mouth sad. It doesn't make sense. There's kind of a incompatibility between the sound ra empty mouth and the sad that follows is just full mouth. So in a way,
can I ask a question?
The sad is actually influencing the pronunciation of ra because it's coloring the letter ra because of its emphatic nature. Yes, sister, go ahead. You can ask.
Yes, actually, it is very hard to remember all the words, that which word and on which word we will apply these, whether it's full mouth or. But is it like these are all the words which are actually pronounced heavy? And
which
so
words?
The istila words, is it always heavy? It's always heavy, right?
Right. They're always like that. That's their nature. That's by nature, they will always be like that. So in the Quran, they will always be pronounced with tafkhim.
Yeah, so we need not to remember, but instead we have to practice which words are heavy, then we can apply this rule.
In fact, if you see any sound that has these 7 letters, you can bet, you can be sure that all the neighboring sounds will also be pronounced with emphatic quality. So in fact, if you remember these 7 letters, it's better than remembering the words, because there's only 7 letters and there are so many words in the Quran, right? So yeah, those 7 letters will definitely influence what is coming before them and most likely also after them. Okay, so it's the same for the next letter or the next word. I just wanted to go through the process with you to show you what happens, right? So in the next letter, not the next letter, but the next word, we say qirtas, qirtas, qirtas. We don't say qirtas, okay? Because here, both before and after, we have 2 letters of isti'la. Not only the qaf, but also the ta are actually letters of isti'la. So the ra, even though it has a kasra here, it has no other choice but to be influenced by the 2 sounds before and after it. Qirtas, qirtas. Okay? Got it? Well, inshallah, you got it.
Yes.
Yes.
Because this is not, I understand that it's not easy. Yeah, I understand it's not easy because this is a lot of rules inside one pronunciation of ra. It's actually packaged with so many different rules in it. All right, don't worry. For next time, inshallah, we are going to practice ayah number 185 of Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, 185. It's a little bit long ayah, so it will allow us to practice the ra. So here, so it's about the month of Ramadan. Okay. Shahru Ramadan. So not all the ra are actually with kasra. Right? Not all of them have kasra in them. All right. Do you want to, how should we do this? Should I read it first? Okay, let me tell you what we're going to do. First of all, I'll read it. Then I will stay silent for maybe 1 minute and I will allow you to recite it yourself. And then we will listen to the sheikh and then you will also repeat it. But please cut your mics while you're reciting, huh? Okay, so let me just recite it for you first. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. Okay, your turn. I will be silent and you recite, inshallah. Okay, brothers and sisters, inshallah, we're going to listen to the Shaykh. I've chosen another reciter, just every time we can get a new one. I don't know how it's going to sound like, but hopefully it's not too fast. Bismillah, let's listen to the Shaykh and we can try to apply the rules or the rules of Tajweed. Here we have إخفاء أنزل أنزل, and then here we have هدى للناس إدغام without غنة. Here we have إدغام with غنة. فمن شهد منكم الشهر. This إخفاء, and another إخفاء here منكم, another إخفاء here ما كان. All right, another إخفاء سفر فعدة من أيام أخر. So here this is إدغام with غنة. We have of course here إظهار. No, they don't say إظهار. أيام أخر. And that's pretty much it. But of course, just pay attention to the ra. And let's listen to the Shaykh. Bismillah.
شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون.
All right. Of course, you are free to recite it again, but I just want to ask you something here. You see the ra here has kasra in it. Jannah, did someone raise their hand? Is it Jannah? Sorry, I missed it. Do you want to ask question, Jannah? Or whoever raised their hand?
Who's that? Who's that reciter?
This is Al-Husari, Shaykh Al-Husari. Let me just...
We guessed it.
You guessed it? MashaAllah. Mahmoud Khalil Al-Husari. MashaAllah, has a beautiful recitation. Shaykh Al-Husari. He's an Egyptian Shaykh. He passed away a long time ago in 1980, not that long ago, but very beautiful recitation. And also, if you want to follow, because he has a slow recitation, it allows you to apply the rules of Tajweed. So I encourage you to go and check for listening some of his recitations. Good job, Jannah. All right, so for here, how does he pronounce this? And if you want, you can actually say how it should be pronounced. If we do the analysis, is this ra muraqqaqa or mufakhama? Let's go back to the rules. Let me go back. At least I tried to use this chart for a reason, So maridan is written like this in Arabic. Let me see if I can write it for you. Oh no, this is not a good color, definitely. It doesn't work. Sorry about that. I'll try to use another color. Yeah, let's use, for instance, black. Okay, sorry, my handwriting is not that great, but if we see this ra, well, first of all, let's try to understand what type of ra is it. Is it this one or is it this one? Does it have sukun or does it have one of the harakat?
With muharrika.
Very good. So then we go down the chart and we say, is it kasra or is it dhamma? Fatha. Harakat that it has. Kasra. Very nice. So it should be this rule. So this should be pronounced with the empty mouth. Marida. Marida. We don't say marida. Okay, so it should be a softer ra, right? Marida. Marida. Let's see if it's true or not. If we go back to the recitation, I'm going to just spot that.
أو على كان مريضا
Did you hear it?
أو على سفر ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام
Okay,
أخر.
so he said مريضا. He didn't say مريضا. مريضا. Okay, so it was a soft, empty mouth sound, right? Okay, so if you stick to the rule, it should be fine, inshallah. It should help you. They go back. You can go back to this PowerPoint if you're not sure. All right, question. We are at that point of our lesson where we are going to ask Quranic quiz questions. Inshallah. If you know the answer to this question, raise your hand. Don't shout it out, please. So according to the Quran, Farzana, right? How many brothers does Yusuf alayhi salam? I just said don't shout it out. I just want to know how many people know. Okay, you're saying 11. Who said it?
Sultan Muhammad Ali Anas.
Ali Anas?
Yes,
Okay. All right. How do you know that he has 11 brothers?
in the Quran.
Where exactly?
Surah Yusuf.
Do you know the ayah?
No.
Okay, you are correct. You are right. Your answer is correct. Good job. Inshallah, I think many brothers and sisters also know the answer to that. So it's ayah number 4 of chapter 12, ayat 4 of chapter 12, which is actually chapter Yusuf, Surah Yusuf. And in the Quran it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين. So he says to his father, Yaqub, the father of Yusuf is Yaqub. He said, my father, my dear father, indeed, I dreamt of 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrating to me. So those 11 stars are the brothers of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam. And actually, so those 11 brothers, if you look at what follows, Ash-Shamsa wal-Qamara, do you know what is Ash-Shamsa wal-Qamara?
Mother and father.
Exactly.
Parents.
Right. So it says the 11 brothers of Yusuf plus his mother and his father. رَأَيْتُهُمْ لِي سَاجِدِينَ. This is the vision of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, who actually tells this to his father Yaqub. Okay. Now, great answer. Jazakumullah khair. MashaAllah. Good job. Very good job. And I just want to add one thing. If you know the progeny of Yaqub are called al-asbat. Al-asbat, meaning the children, the progeny, not directly, but all the progeny of Nabi Yaqub alayhi salam, the father of Yusuf, peace be upon them all. Actually, he is, they call them al-asbat, and that includes Yusuf, right? Alayhi salam. So 11 plus 1 is 12. The children, the progeny of Prophet Yaqub are 12. And how do we know that? We know it from the Quran, where It says in chapter 7 of the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقطعناهم اثنتي عشرة أسباطا أمما وأوحينا إلى موسى إذ استسقاه قومه أن اضرب بعصاك الحجر فانبجزت منه 12 عينا قد علم كل أناس مشربهم وظللنا عليهم الغمام وأنزلنا عليهم المن والسلوى كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم وما ظلمونا ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون. So those 12 tribes, they are the progeny of Prophet Yaqub. They are actually the children of Prophet Yaqub. That includes Yusuf. 11 plus 1, 12. Okay, that was actually the answer. And they are called al-asbat. This word asbat, you can find it 3 or 4 times in the Quran, and that always refers to the 12 progeny of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. Okay, so inshallah we will do more of these little questions to review the Quran and also to try to practice tajweed. Any questions? That was actually a technical lesson today. I'm sure it gave you so many headaches.
No.
Inshallah not. Inshallah not. Inshallah you can go back and review it. So please go ahead and go to chapter 2 of the Quran and go check that ayah that I recommended to review, which is ayah number 185. Recite it. You recite it. Inshallah you can send it to me. All right.
Inshallah.
Barakallahu fikum. Many people are quiet today. What happened?
I
It
don't
was a
know.
hard lesson today.
Huh? Sorry?
It was a hard lesson today.
Oh, right. So that's my point, or maybe my future idea is that if there is a hard lesson, I try to divide it in 2-3 parts, because otherwise it will be too hard. So originally, this lesson, last week's lesson and this week's lesson were going to be combined into only one lesson, but alhamdulillah, I said, nah, let me just divide it in 2 instead. Maybe next time I teach it, it will be in 3. All right, Jazakumullah khair. I will stop now. Inshallah, you can benefit, and we will all benefit from this, inshallah. So we can make the dua to close today. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Have a wonderful weekend.
Inshallah. Same to you.
Inshallah. Take care. See you inshallah.
جزاك الله خير.
وإياك.
السلام.